It's Film Frenzy, back with another movie review, and I just got back from seeing an early screening of Aquaman through Amazon Prime, and I'm here to review the new big DC film, starting with my first category, direction and visuals. I just gotta start off by saying Aquaman is really weird. But the direction and visuals are definitely its strongest part. So, with the direction and visuals, I thought James Wan brought a lot to this. I didn't know how it was going to go because he really just directs horror films, but he took the fantasy genre and went all in. It is just so, over the top in the best way possible in terms of the action sequences. Just the amount of scope of the film is just crazy. It goes to all the different, the seven kingdoms of the sea and stuff. It goes to different places on Earth, it's in the Sahara Desert, it's in Sicily, it's in Maine. It's crazy how many locations it's in. The sheer size of this film is crazy. And I think that's really encapsulated by the awesome direction and visuals. Certain fight scenes are definitely amazing. My favorite might actually be the first one of the film that really got me amped up in Aquaman's father's house, on the lighthouse area. There's this crazy fight scene, and the visuals, the camera's going above the fight, and then it's constantly moving, almost like it's the ocean. And I thought it was just really cool. The camera is very nice throughout the film. I thought the direction was really cool. The fight scenes, occasionally there's one, maybe one of the big ones went on for a little bit too long. But overall, they were really fun. The best ones are always the intimate ones, where it's just smaller scale, because you get to really see the hand-to-hand combat, which I thought was the case with the aforementioned one at the lighthouse. Also, the Sicily one, which people saw in an early a trailer kind of thing, the extended trailer, where they're running on the rooftops. That was awesome with Black Manta. That was a really cool fight scene. I thought his whole suit is just, even though it's kind of a little silly looking, the big bug eyes, I thought it was cool how it shoots out the laser beams and stuff. And occasionally though, there was some little bit cheesy direction. So I'm gonna get into this later, but there's a lot of campy feel to it. I don't know how much of it's the editing, but it's kind of a mix of the editing and direction, where there's certain shots that are just a little bit cheesy, kind of like an 80s action movie. And I feel like it was kind of intentional, but most of the movie didn't have that, except for some occasional shots were just showing Aquaman looking really cool. And it just kind of made me laugh at the movie, which I think is what they were going for, but sometimes it was just a little out of place. So I have to take off a little bit for this category, but that still means an awesome 4.5 out of 5 for direction and visuals to start off the movie really well. Now it's time to delve into the acting and character development. I would say acting and character development is a pretty strong category in Aquaman. So I'm going to start off with the pluses, and there are a lot of those. First off, Aquaman and Mera, who are the two lead characters of the film, I thought they were both very likable. They had pretty complex characters. They weren't just one-dimensional. They had a lot of aspects to them. They were very relatable, and I love that because this movie is very just otherworldly. It's very fantasy, and those two characters kind of keep it grounded. I love that. Aquaman, he's the child of two different worlds. I know they hit you over the head a little bit with that, but I thought that was just great. It made him just a very relatable person to anybody who feels they're kind of torn between two cultures and feel oh, maybe I'm just not neither of them, this awkward middle ground. But then he proves that he can be both of them and just combine them. And I thought that was really awesome as a character. He was an excellent character, and he developed a lot throughout the movie. So 5 out of 5 for him. Mera was also just really excellent. She showed growth and understanding for the human culture. I thought that was really cool because she kind of had some bias towards it because of all the rumors they hear from Atlantis about, oh, the humans are just dirty people who just pollute the ocean. But then she sees the real beauty, and that's really just shown through Sicily, which I talked about earlier. Sicily's just beautiful, really cool. I loved the whole Sicily part of the film. That was one of the best parts of the film, in my opinion. Other characters, I thought Aquaman's parents were really great. Nicole Kidman and I think it was Stephen Baldwin as the father. They were both really good. I mean, the acting in this film is incredible, I would say. They get an insane cast. I mean, Volko, you have Willem Dafoe, you have Patrick Wilson playing King Orm, and there's just a lot more. There's just a lot of great actors. The only kind of bad acting performance I could think of was the one small scene where Aquaman's a teenager and he's being trained by Volko on the beach. I thought the actor was just kind of all over the place. He didn't know what direction he was going in. Maybe it was just poor direction, but the actor was just kind of strange. He was suddenly get angry, but he seemed kind of just confused. It was weird. Other than that, acting was really great in the film. But there was some weak character development, I would say, and that is really in the villain department mostly. So I would say King Orm, he has a lot of potential. In my opinion, there should have only been one villain, and that would have been King Orm, because he is the primary villain of the film. Patrick Wilson plays him very, very nicely, but I feel like it was just kind of, like, he didn't really have enough reason to hate Aquaman. Like, he thought Aquaman was the reason that the mom of Nicole Kidman was, like, sent away and supposedly killed, but it just kind of felt like he was just basing off not, like, a lot of, like, just, like, not really knowing the facts. I guess his father, who's not actually in the film, but he was kind of supplying lots of that just bias and hatred towards humans and towards Aquaman because, you know, he's half-blood. But I thought that just King Orm, like, he didn't really get developed enough, and he just kind of felt like just kind of your villain who they were trying to make him kind of like revenge, like he didn't like Aquaman, but didn't really feel like that. It just felt like kind of a generic villain who wanted power, which is fine, but I thought they made the villain like a really important part of the story, and once you do that, you need to make the villain really interesting, like Thanos. But they did not. Like Deadpool, they understood that like Francis, like the first Deadpool, was not important, and they did not put much attention to the villain. But this, it felt like they were trying to make the villain important, but they didn't really succeed, unfortunately. Same goes for the secondary villain, who I wish they saw, like, I wish they just saved him for the second film, Black Manta. So they set up in, like, the first scene with, like, Aquaman as an adult, like, this, like, whole revenge thing. I thought that was really nice. I'm not going to spoil it here, but once you see it, like, on the submarine scene, I thought it was a great, great scene. And so now there's this hatred of from Black Manta to Aquaman, which is very warranted, I must say. I thought that was smart, but then Black Manta, like, they kind of stopped there. Like, there's not much more character development after that. And I thought they made him a little bit one-dimensional, which was unfortunate because he had a lot of potential. He's one of the big, like, Aquaman villains in the comics. They should just save them for the second film. Don't try to have too many villains. Don't pull a Spider-Man 3 on us. And that was a problem because then, like, the rest of the film, yes, he does some cool fight scenes, specifically the Sicily one. That was a mouthful. Specifically the Sicily one. And so they show some cool powers that he gets from, like, the Atlantean suit and stuff, but they don't go into actual character. They don't further develop him. And they do set him up for the sequel, which was nice, but I just want to see more of him. Just scrap that character, focus on King Orm, and make him an excellent character. But that wasn't the case, and since the villains were a big part of this film, I have to knock off a full point, so a 4 out of 5 for acting and character development. Overall, there was a lot there on the hero side, but the villain one was a bit lacking. My final category are the story elements, plot, pacing, script, and theme. Oh, it's the make or break category, the big one. We're going to start with the plot. And this is pretty rough, so get ready for a little bit of a rant. This plot is just not good at all. So I'll start with the positive in that the first act, I thought I had some really solid exposition. They set up a lot of great things. I was like, oh, this movie's going to balance a lot of good subplots. Like, they had the Black Manta subplot, the King Orm, and, like, all, like, the political with, like, the royal family subplot of, like, Atlantis and the other kingdoms. They had the subplot of, like, the Mera and Aquaman's relationship, the subplot of what happened to Aquaman's mom and the relationship with his dad. They were setting up all this great stuff, and I thought it was going to be really good. But it kind of goes downhill from there because I think they bit off a little bit too much more than they could swallow. And the second act kind of lulls a little bit. It becomes like a bad version of Indiana Jones because they're trying to search for the trident. I felt like a cheesy, just like a venture film a little bit, like just kind of like trying to search for the MacGuffin or whatever. And I thought that was very derivative. This movie, I'll talk about a little bit later, has a lot of derivative qualities to it. But the second act did lull, kind of repetitive. Oh, we're just going to go to this location, which was nice for direction and visuals, like I talked about earlier, but not so nice for the plot. And then the third act was just very predictable. Let's wrap things up pretty nicely. I did appreciate that it did not have many ties, like literally virtually no ties to the DCEU at all, even less than Wonder Woman. Not a single mention. I didn't see any single like Easter egg or anything. I thought that was nice. Like, it's a very standalone movie, which I did like, and it was fine that it wrapped up neatly, but I just thought it was so damn predictable. Even like the twist, which I won't say here, I saw it coming like a mile away. So that's a big problem in the plot category. Pacing, I thought it went by very fast. I thought that was great. When I looked at the time afterwards, I was like, what the hell? Oh yeah, by the way, I don't like to know the movie's runtime before I see it in theaters because I want to like just kind of get a good gauge of the pacing. I think it's a really great measure. So I checked my phone. I was like, that was 2 hours and 22 minutes. What the hell? Like, I felt like a little under 2 hours. So that was really good that it went by really fast. I thought the pacing was solid. Very fast-paced film. Although, like I said before, might lull a little bit in the second act. And sometimes the editing is a little bit weird from scene to scene, but not terrible. And then, additionally, with the plot, which I want to talk about, because there's just so much wrong with the plot. Not everything I'm going to say in this video, but there's just so much wrong with it. There's just a lot of, like, weird things that I feel like aren't really explained well. Like, it's like maybe if you read the comics, you'd understand it. But the sense of his powers, they're just really confusing. Like, who can breathe above water, who can't. He can talk to animals. I don't know why, but somehow he's, like, the chosen one. Like, he's Harry Potter or something. He can talk to snakes. Another derivative quality right there. There's going to be a lot more of those. And it's just so confusing. Like, what are the powers? Is he, like, indestructible because he jumps out of an airplane, but yet he's scared to, like, fall out of a 3-story building when he's holding on to the ledge? It's so inconsistent and confusing what the hell the powers are. And that's a little bit more of a rant with the plot and just some holes with it and just some confusing things. Again, biting off more than they could chew. Now it's time for script, which gets me to my tone gripes. And this movie felt like it was just really irreverent, like it was a campy film that was making fun of itself. It didn't take itself seriously, but the characters in it were serious. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, you kind of have to watch it for yourself in a way. But it was like the characters were making like a serious movie. The actors were told to make like a serious movie. Lots of the direction was very serious, besides occasional campy shots like I talked about earlier. And the script often was like serious drama, but then it would just go into these weird campy things where it's like it knows it's campy because obviously James Wan is a talented filmmaker and these actors are talented actors and this movie is just made by talented people. There's no doubt about it. But occasionally it would just get all just like campy and cheesy, and the jokes, there weren't even that many jokes, yet it felt like a comedy. I think that's kind of a problem in a way. Like, the jokes were kind of cheesy, some of them were funny, but it just felt like a very cheesy, campy film that was kind of trying to be, but not trying to be. In a way, it felt kind of schizophrenic, but trying to be schizophrenic. So it was like, it was trying to not try to be something. It was just a mess, but kind of a beautiful mess, as my friend who I went with summed up, and I thought that was really just smart. It was a beautiful mess. And the script, so it had some good moments of drama, it had some mediocre moments, some good moments, some bad moments of comedy, but overall, the script was kind of like, I think the script is really the gateway to the tone of the film, and it was all over the place. And I thought it was just weird. It was almost like DC was like, well, we can only make good Wonder Woman movies, so how about let's make a movie that's purposely bad, and maybe it'll actually be good. And they're kind of right. I mean, I like the movie. I think it's probably the second best film in the DCEU. I think it's a little bit better than Justice League, which I think is underrated. I actually did enjoy Justice League. Obviously, it's nowhere near Wonder Woman. I don't know if they're going to make another movie near Wonder Woman. I'm really hoping Shazam Wonder Woman 2 would be, but that's for another day. Anyway, finally, we got the theme in this category before I reveal this category score. So theme, there was a lot, again, of a mess. So the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes, I thought they were setting up a theme of destiny with like the monologue, but it was kind of over the top, but then it doesn't like talk about it for the rest of the film, so it can't be a good theme. And then they have all these undertones, like environmental stuff, like with the pollution. I thought that was good. Like, it's fine if they talk about it. It's true that it's really sad what's happening to the oceans, but then they never really touch upon it again. And it's like a bunch of themes they're trying to get preachy about for a second, but then they don't address again. But what you're supposed to do with the theme is the exact opposite. Choose one or maybe like one sub-theme, and you're not preachy about it, but you keep it consistent throughout the film. Exact opposite of what they did. And I thought that was just a mess. Like, there was a bunch of other themes that I'm not going to all just go all out and just say all of them, but it was just so weird. And then just talking about a little bit more to the derivatives, there was a little bit of like, there was a Jaws like joke. There was all of this Thor stuff, like just visually there's a lot of Thor stuff. Character-wise, there was Thor stuff. Wakanda, there was like some derivations of that, and how like Atlantis was like this really like advanced society 1,000 years ago, but Wakanda kind of did it better. And there was just so much more. There was like Ant-Man and the Wasp, like kind of like references in a way, which I'm not going to spoil because that actually is a spoiler. so many more. I think this is something you have to see for yourself, and it's almost a movie where you're going to be laughing at it a little bit, but you're also going to be enjoying and like taking seriously at the same time. It's weird. It is very unique. It's so derivative and unoriginal in a way that it becomes original. It's just like it's like a catch-22 of movies. Like, it's just so confusing and so hard to do a review of. As you see, I'm struggling here. So this category, it's rough. I'm going to have to give it a 2.5 out of 5. It's really rough, and that really weighs down the score because this is the most important category. And though I did give really high scores to the last two, that means that my overall score is a 3.25 out of 5. This is a very solid movie. I highly recommend seeing it in theaters. It felt like a summer blockbuster. Again, why the hell is it coming out in winter? I have no clue. Again, really confusing. This movie is just so confusing in so many levels. It's messed up. I feel like it's some movie you need to see for yourself. The critics, I feel like, are understanding that it's just a weird movie, and they're appreciating it, and I'm appreciating it too. I think it's definitely a thumbs up, although it is severely flawed. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure to like and subscribe for more awesome videos from Film Fantasy. Comment down below your opinions on Aquaman once you see it. I hope you enjoy this review. See you guys later from Film Fantasy. Bye.